Hello everyone and welcome back to WolfQuest The Lost Tales, and we are here for our next challenge. We're going to be playing on challenging, and we are going to be playing as Whisper. So you guys have voted for Whisper, and her challenge is actually to take down several coyotes. So if we pause and look at her stats here, you can see she's not a very strong wolf, but she is pretty fast and she has a lot of stamina. So she has 25 strength, 65 stamina, and 60 speed. So she's a pretty quick wolf, and she's not going to get tired very easily, and hopefully that'll give her an edge against the coyotes, even if she's not strong enough to take them down right away. Though it is going to make it a little bit more difficult for her to successfully manage to bring down elk, and that's actually probably going to play into her challenge quite a lot. So Whisper has to track down and kill 10 coyotes. Oh, did I guess I toggled runoff somehow. I didn't realize I'd done that. But I thought she was just tired or whatever, which doesn't make a lot of sense because of her stamina. But apparently I hit the run toggle there. But yeah, so she has to track down and kill 10 coyotes, which means that we have to find them, and there's really only one consistent spawn point on Amethyst Mountain, which I'll actually show you guys here. So if we run down to this rock, this does tend to spawn coyotes, and it didn't even do it this time. Sometimes it doesn't. So that's really the only consistent spawn point. Otherwise, is that a cougar? Oh my goodness, that's actually a cougar. Oh my goodness. So if you guys saw my speed run recently of WolfQuest, then you'll know that I got lucky and found a bear. But I've actually been trying to do another one, and yeah, I figured out pretty quickly that I'd have to find a bear or a cougar to be able to succeed, and that has proved to be significantly easier said than done. This is actually an incredibly rare spawn. Out of probably over 50 attempts, I think I found something like 5 bears or cougars that would spawn at a carcass right there. So that was actually really, really rare. For those of you guys who've been asking if I'll do another speed run, yes, it's just taking a while. But that's a little bit off topic. What I was saying is there's really only that one consistent spawn that I know of where coyotes tend to show up. Otherwise, they just randomly appear at carcasses, and so if we want to find coyotes, we probably should do some hunting, because I think that's going to be our best way of luring some of them in so we'll be able to track them down and kill them as per the challenge. There's not really, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to kill the coyotes. Well, I mean, yes, it actually, well, it kind of does and doesn't all at once, because as we've learned through the devlogs for WolfQuest 3, coyotes are actually really fast. They can generally escape wolves. Usually the instances where you'll see a wolf that kills a coyote, it's going to be a pack of wolves that kind of corner it and then end up taking it out. So I think it makes more sense the way that WolfQuest 3 is going to be doing this. Where is the elk herd? I'm so confused. It's been a while since I've done Lost Tales, and I do apologize for that, so I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things. I'm gonna leave the territory and try to circle around the edge of it, because I don't... Oh, here's the scent trail. Okay. They're right up here, I guess, then? Are they? Oh yeah, there they are. I just, for some reason, could not find them. But I think it makes more sense the way that WolfQuest 3 does it, where, as we've seen in the devlogs, that is, where the coyotes are going to be fast enough generally to escape, and you're going to have a harder time taking them down as a lone wolf here, because again, if coyotes are fast enough to outrun a wolf, then it doesn't make a lot of sense for a lone wolf to be able to kill a bunch of them. Usually when you hear of that happening, it's with a pack of wolves, and a lot of the time when you see it in a documentary, it's a pack of wolves that kind of just corners the coyote and then ends up taking it down. And so it's not usually a lone wolf. Now, with that said, wolves and coyotes are pretty instinctual enemies, and so I don't doubt that a lone wolf would at least try its best, but it's just not going to be worth the energy expenditure to continue to go after a coyote in most cases, unless it's like really, really persistent and won't leave you alone or something. It's just not going to be worth it for a lone wolf to, say, pursue it long distances, as long as it can get the coyote far enough away from whatever it's trying to protect, be it food, territory, whatever. It's not going to be worth it for the wolf to just continue to chase it down even if it's outrunning it. So this is probably the last chance, well, one of the last chances we'll have to do a challenge like this. in the time here before WolfQuest 3 releases, because once we get to the new game, it's going to change things pretty significantly. Now, with that said, given the significance of that change, I might end up putting in another coyote challenge where we do have to kill a coyote, but it'll probably end up working quite a lot differently because, again, coyotes are going to be significantly harder to kill. That's not going to be your main method of getting rid of them. You're going to be just chasing them off rather than killing them. And again, in a system like this, where the game is significantly less complex than in WolfQuest 3, it does make sense that you would just kill the coyote, that it'd be easier than having it run. Well, I guess you could have it run just like the bears and the cougars do. But it does still fit with the system here that since it's not as complex, it's not going to... It wouldn't be quite as easy to implement something like that unless you did it the exact same way as the bears and the cougars, in which case there would be very little to actually differentiate coyotes from them, except that they really don't damage you back. So I understand why they did it the way they did it in the original game. And I'm definitely looking forward to a change of pace in WolfQuest 3 because I think that's going to make things both a little bit harder and a little bit more interesting, because you won't actually probably be able to kill the coyotes very easily if they're that fast. And as we've seen, animals will run away when they feel like they can't win a fight. And so I believe at one point that was demonstrated in a video showing off some of the new bears, where you can kind of intimidate them. And so in a system like that, you're probably going to be relying more heavily on actually chasing them off rather than properly killing them. That was just our own footsteps, I think. It almost sounded like there was a second set for a minute there, and I was like, wait a minute, do we already have a coyote? But I don't know that we do. So we've brought down several elk now. We've got several carcasses. That one actually wasn't one that we had. That was one that was apparently here already. But I'm kind of just going to bounce between them now, I think, and roam around. I guess Whisper is kind of just establishing herself against the coyote packs that call this area home. If I recall, she had some pretty scary, I think she did have a scary incident with a coyote when she was young, if I recall. I don't know, maybe, no, I think she did. I'm trying to remember now. We've had some pups that definitely did, and I believe Whisper did. So she's kind of just trying to establish herself, especially being a little bit of a smaller, not so threatening wolf with not a lot of strength. She wants to make sure she leaves her mark on them and intimidates them away from where she's going to be hanging out so that they're not causing her problems later on. I'm kind of just going to run now between these areas in the coyote spawn rock because we haven't had any spawn. I haven't seen a single coyote in this entire playthrough. Usually you find them pretty frequently, but this might actually be kind of a difficult challenge. And that's kind of the interesting thing about these challenges where we do have a certain number of animals that we have to bring down or whatever, because assuming that it's not elk, there's no real guarantee that you'll be able to find the animals you need. They just might not show up at all, and that can make things kind of interesting, that can make things kind of tricky, and it adds a layer of randomness and a layer of challenge to the game. So, I'm also, again, I can't really release any official news on WolfQuest 3, and I also can't really for sure say the impact this is going to have on Lost Tales, but we will be continuing Lost Tales even after WolfQuest 3 releases. And, oh, there's a hare, not quite what we were looking for, but still something, still a little extra experience for us. Ah, there's our first coyote. Alright, let's go take this guy down. He came scurrying out into the wrong area, and as you can see here, we can catch up to them really easily, which is not really the case so much in real life. Now, Wolf will probably try its best to kill a coyote, just again, because they are competitors. They're closer competitors than wolves are with foxes, though they sometimes compete in some degree. Foxes generally hunt smaller animals, whereas coyotes will hunt some smaller animals, but they'll also scavenge off of wolf kills, and they even have some commonality in the prey they hunt. Usually they do hunt smaller prey because they're not really equipped to bring down super big prey like elk or whatever. But they do sometimes overlap with wolves and the animals they'll catch. They're kind of in between wolves and foxes in that respect, and oftentimes it seems to be, at least from what I've seen, like watching documentaries and whatnot, it seems to be situations of scavenging that will bring them into contact, whereas A fox doesn't need to probably eat quite as much because it's smaller, and so it can survive more easily on eating mice or whatnot, and so it's maybe less likely to directly try and steal from the wolves while the wolves are there, whereas you'll see coyotes sneaking in to try and mooch off a carcass when they think the wolves are distracted, and that's often when you'll see confrontations, especially confrontations that end fatally for the coyote. That's often what seems to be the case when you see those confrontations, again, at least judging based off the situations I've seen portrayed in documentaries. So that's what it seems to be. But it's going to definitely change things up a bit. Now, what I will say is I do know how we're going to start off in WolfQuest 3. I know how we're going to start that off. It's not quite going to be Lost Tales. We'll actually take a little bit of a break without going into the next season officially. And we'll take a bit of a break from Lost Tales to explore the game. I do have some plans for that. I'm not going to share all of them right away. But after that, we'll be returning to Lost Tales, and depending on what we determine based off of the gameplay we see in our kind of in-between series, we'll either keep the same number of episodes and do 4 episodes per Lost Tales playthrough, or we might bump it up to 8, depending, because again, the scope of everything in WolfQuest 3 is so much larger, whereas here in 2.7 it's a lot more constrained. And so it might be a thing where we're not going to really get the chance to see our stories unfold properly just within the bounds of the typical Lost Tales storyline. Oh, we did find another coyote. Okay, that's actually pretty good then. So you kind of have to take a bit of a break in between sometimes and just come back and check out this coyote hangout area. But we might bump it up to 8 depending on how we feel about the story that unfolds from our kind of in-between bridge series. So that's just going to be something that we'll decide when we get there. I'll probably ask for you guys' input too. I definitely want to spend several episodes just exploring and just kind of experiencing the gameplay. So we'll have a bit of a series there to, again? Dang, it sometimes even doesn't take that long, I guess. Wow, that was lucky, because otherwise we would have been falling behind for the episode. But yeah, so I'll leave a lot of that up to you. You'll kind of get the chance to judge based off the gameplay we get to explore in that bridge series. And I'll explain a little bit more about why that bridge series is going to be important, because it will have implications for the future of our WolfQuest series as a whole, as WolfQuest continues to grow and update throughout future WolfQuest 3 versions. The team has announced that they want to not just work on the Amethyst Mountain version of WolfQuest 3, but also to work on later versions such as remade Slough Creek and then finally Tower Fall, and I think they even want to go beyond that. I don't know how much they've said, but I think they've kind of I think it sounds to me like they don't plan on stopping after WolfQuest or after Tower Fall. So hopefully we'll see continuation. Personally, I would like to see a continuation where it kind of loops around naturally. I mean, we play generationally as it is, but I would love to see it where they actually work that into the gameplay, sort of like what Shelter 2 does, but maybe more expanded, where you could choose to continue on with your wolf and maybe have that wolf's future pups either end up staying or dispersing or helping with the next litter, and then eventually maybe naturally progress into playing as one of those pups. But I have no idea if that's where they want to go with this or not. I definitely hope we get to see more WolfQuest in the future, and given that they've been able to sit and work on WolfQuest 3 and expand it so much, and that they're going to be bringing this game to an all-new level with the release of WolfQuest 3, I think there's a decent chance that we're going to be seeing WolfQuest for quite some time to come here. Personally, I can't see them giving up on the game just after releasing WolfQuest 3 or anything like that, and I can't see the game doing poorly to the extent where it would force them to, given the massive update we're going to be seeing and how much of a difference that's going to be making on the gameplay. I just personally can't imagine that happening, so I have a feeling we're going to be seeing WolfQuest for quite some time in the future here, and I certainly hope it'll provide much opportunity for expanded storylines. But it's gonna have to make some changes to the way we run our seasons just because of the expanded nature of the gameplay. There's just some things that are going to gonna take longer, and so I'm gonna be shifting the way that we run our seasons, and I'm probably even going to shift the structure of the storyline. So right now we've had basically one season with 2 packs, because of course the pack split after the Galaxy pack, and we now have 2 lineages that we've been following. I'm probably going to break those up into separate storylines so they won't air concurrently the way they did before, and I might even break those up into sub-seasons, so we might, depending on how long the gameplay takes, and again, we have no idea what Slough Creek is going to look like, and we don't have a lot of information on how long the Amethyst Mountain gameplay is going to last. But, okay, no more coyotes here for now. They all seem to have run off. But what I was saying is, given that we're seeing the size of the game map go from a 2x2 kilometer area to a 7x7, I think it is, kilometer area, and just the overall expansion of pretty much everything in the game, it's no stretch of the imagination to think that the storyline will expand immensely as well, probably both for Amethyst Mountain and for Slough Creek. I would not be surprised at all if we see the Slough Creek mission become much more expansive than it is currently, maybe even into something on the scope of the length of time it takes to play through Untamed. If you guys saw our recent series of that, it took us a good 20 episodes just to get through raising 1 litter of cubs from start to finish, and given that we're seeing so much expansion within the WolfQuest world, I wouldn't be surprised if WolfQuest ends up being somewhere in that ballpark as well. Maybe not quite to that degree, but I don't know. I really don't know. We have minimal information. All we know about Slough Creek is that we've seen a little bit of the new pup models, and that's basically it. So, yeah, it's definitely possible that we could see WolfQuest expand to a great degree, and as such, our series will be changing accordingly. And so I'm probably going to break down each pack into their own series, and each series into multiple seasons. So it's going to take us a lot longer to get to the point of choosing a next heir. I might drop the number of litters we do, because right now, since the litters are so short, we can easily do 4 within 1 season, but if they end up being as long as Untamed, then I'll probably drop that back to at least 3. Also because I believe they mentioned something along the lines of the possibility of having more pups, and so if we have even more pups in 1 litter, then that's going to mean that we would have an insane number of potential heirs, and even less chance to get to play with all of them at all. I still want to continue doing Lost Tales as well. I want that to be an ongoing thing that kind of fills in the gap between seasons, so whenever we take a break from a main season, we maybe will be running Lost Tales at some point. You guys seem to love WolfQuest, and so I probably will be running some form of a WolfQuest series at most times, whenever possible. But yeah, so it's with something like that. Oh, there's another coyote. Okay, this is the way to do it then. I'm gonna try not to just wander by here constantly, but I kind of see Whisper as patrolling her territory right now, so she's kind of just wandering the slopes a little bit in kind of this temporary territory she's staked out. And it does show in pack stats, I believe. Yep, 4 coyotes killed, so we can just track it easily there. But so there's definitely going to be some changes for the seasons, and I definitely want to make sure I'm running some form of WolfQuest series pretty frequently, because I know you guys really like it, I really like it, and I think we have probably our most expansive storyline within the WolfQuest universe. Followed pretty closely by Shelter 2, but again, Shelter 2 has a much shorter playtime, much like the current WolfQuest version. And so if that changes with WolfQuest 3, it's going to kind of set them in different categories. No coyote here, right? I almost thought there was for a minute, but I think it was just the grass. I'm just going to kind of poke around and take one more sweep by the carcasses, and then I think we'll probably wrap up here. But yeah, so there's definitely going to be some changes that we're looking at in the way we run our WolfQuest series in the future. It's hard to say specifically for sure what they're going to be, but that's just the general idea of some of the things I'm taking into consideration as we look at the impending release of WolfQuest 3. as far as I know, we still do not have an official release as to, or an official date as to when we're going to see the release, but hopefully it'll be before too long. Again, every time we see the game, it looks more and more complete, and like this last week, we got a good look at some of the new predators and competitors. So we saw the new bear model, we saw the new cougar model, we saw the new coyote model, we saw the new fox model, we saw some of the new wolves, and we just got a look at all of those revamped creatures, and they're looking pretty awesome. So every time we see it, it looks just that extra little bit more complete. And again, I do feel that we're getting fairly close. I think it's taken a little bit longer than even I predicted it would, but that's okay. That's how it goes sometimes. And right now, I'm just happy they're taking the time and effort they need to make this game the best it can be. I would rather see them take a lot longer to put it out and have to wait longer than to rush it and have it be unfinished and full of bugs and just not feeling like a complete game in the same way that I think it will when they finally decide that it will be time to release it. They're making, oh, those ravens just completely finished that carcass. Okay then. But they're just taking their time to make sure that it's going to be the best it can be when it releases. Oh, we have another coyote. Oh my goodness, this might be an easy challenge, apparently. This might be easier than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think it would be at first, but it seems like it might. But yeah, so, I mean, it's one of those things where they're doing the best they can to make this game as best as it can be, and I would rather see them take the time necessary to do that than to push to get it out quickly and have the quality suffer as a result of that. And that's the general consensus that I've heard from the community, what I've seen everybody talking about as well. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode here for today. So Whisper made some pretty good progress on her goal. She might even be able to exceed it. We shall have to see. But we're going to go ahead and end off here for today because it is about that time again. So thank you guys so much for watching. Oh, speaking of foxes, here's one. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. But until then, this is Jay, over and out.